Let me begin with an uncomfortable truth. Most people who believe they are good with money are simply lucky. And most people who think they are unlucky are simply undisciplined. I know this will bother you. It bothered me the first time I realized it too. You see, I spent my life watching people mistake good fortune for intelligence. They made one winning decision. Sometimes not even a decision, just good timing. And they built an entire identity around it. They said, I'm good at this. They said, I understand markets. They said, I have a feel for money. And then, slowly, quietly, the truth arrived. Not with drama, not with warnings, but with losses they could not explain. If you're listening to this and thinking, well, that's not me, then I want you to listen even more carefully. Because the most dangerous thing money can give you is confidence you did not earn. I've watched fortunes rise on nothing but favorable winds, and I've watched those same fortunes disappear the moment the wind changed. This isn't a story about markets. It's a story about human behavior. And if you are over 50, over 60, or nearing the final third of your financial life, you do not have time left to confuse luck with skill. Most people believe success is loud. They think it announces itself. They think it arrives with applause, attention, and obvious signs that say, you've made it. That belief is wrong. Success is quiet. So quiet that most people miss it while they are chasing the noise. You have been taught to look at results, at money, at titles, at recognition. But results are the final page of the book, not the story. And when you judge success only by the ending, you misunderstand the entire journey. Here is the myth I want to break right now. The myth says that successful people are simply more talented, more confident, or more lucky than you. That myth keeps people passive. It gives them a reason to wait instead of work. The truth is harder to swallow. Success is built long before it is visible, long before anyone claps, long before anyone cares. Ask yourself this: how much effort do you put in when no one is watching? How seriously do you take the small things that seem to mean nothing today? Because that is where everything is decided. Imagine an iceberg in the ocean. You see the small tip above the water. That is what people call success. What they do not see is the massive structure underneath. Heavy, cold, silent. The tip exists only because the unseen part exists. Without it, there is nothing to rise. Your life works the same way. Your results sit on top of invisible work. And if the invisible work is weak, the visible part collapses. Most people want the tip without building the base. They want recognition without repetition. They want outcomes without habits. That is not how life works. Opportunity does not reward desire. It rewards preparation. Preparation is not dramatic. It does not feel exciting. Most days it feels boring. You show up, you practice, you study, you improve one small thing, and nothing seems to change. That is where most people quit. They assume nothing is happening because nothing is showing. But something is happening. Strength is forming. Skill is sharpening. Judgment is improving. There is a law that governs progress whether you like it or not. When preparation meets opportunity, people call it luck. But luck is just preparation arriving on time. Ask yourself, if opportunity came tomorrow, would you be ready? Or would you call it bad timing and move on? Pressure has a way of exposing truth. When things are easy, everyone looks capable. When pressure arrives, patterns are revealed. Think of a person who loses their job unexpectedly. One person panics. They freeze. They blame the economy. They wait. Another person responds differently. They update their skills. They reach out to contacts. They adapt. Same pressure, different preparation. Or think of a business owner facing a sudden downturn. One reacts emotionally, cuts blindly, makes desperate decisions. Another reviews numbers calmly, protects what matters, adjusts strategy. Pressure does not create character. It reveals it. Your habits under calm conditions decide your behavior under stress. This is why focus is so valuable. Focus is not a luxury. It is protection. Distraction is expensive, not because it wastes time, but because it breaks momentum. Every time you switch attention, you pay a cost. A cost in clarity. A cost in depth. Focus must be guarded like gold. You would not leave gold on the sidewalk. Yet many people leave their attention unprotected all day. Ask yourself, what steals your focus without permission? What do you allow to interrupt your progress daily? Success is not built by intensity alone. It is built by sequence. You learn, then you apply, then you evaluate, then you correct, then you persist. Miss one step and growth slows. Learning without application creates illusion. Application without evaluation creates repetition of mistakes. Evaluation without correction creates awareness without change. And persistence without adjustment creates burnout. The sequence matters. Motivation is unreliable. It rises and falls with mood. Discipline does not. Discipline is not about forcing yourself. It is about designing systems that work even when you do not feel like it. You do not rise to your goals. You fall to your systems. Ask yourself, what system governs your day? Is it intentional or accidental? Patience is strategic, not passive. Time has seasons. There is a season to plant, a season to grow, a season to harvest. If you dig up seeds every week to check progress, nothing grows. Many people quit in the growth season because they expected a harvest too early. Feedback is not criticism. It is information. Those who grow measure. They adjust. They refine. They do not defend mistakes. They learn from them. Momentum builds slowly, then suddenly. Like a flywheel, heavy at first, hard to move. But once it turns, each push matters more. Breakthrough is not an event. It is a lifestyle. It comes from doing small things right for a long time. One day, people will call you lucky. Let them. You will know the truth. And that truth will keep you grounded, calm, and ready for whatever comes next. They will say you were in the right place at the right time. They will say things just worked out for you. They will say you had an advantage they didn't have. They will never see the quiet mornings, the long evenings, the days when nothing moved forward but you showed up anyway. That is fine. You do not need their understanding. You need your own standards. Standards are what guide you when motivation disappears. And it will disappear. Not once, many times. There will be days when you doubt everything. Your plan, your ability, your direction. On those days, discipline becomes your anchor. Not force, not aggression, but structure. Structure removes decision fatigue. It answers questions before emotions get involved. It says, this is what I do today, regardless of how I feel. Ask yourself this quietly. If you removed motivation from your life entirely, what would still get done? That answer tells you how strong your systems are. People often wait for clarity before acting. But clarity comes from action, not waiting. Movement creates feedback. Feedback creates refinement. Standing still creates doubt. Think about learning again. Most people confuse learning with consuming information. Reading, watching, listening. But learning only happens when behavior changes. If nothing changes, nothing was learned. That is uncomfortable because it forces honesty. You cannot claim growth while repeating the same patterns. Growth leaves evidence. Evidence shows up in decisions, in reactions, in consistency. This is why evaluation matters. Not harsh judgment, clear observation. What worked? What didn't? Why? These questions are not emotional. They are practical. Correction is not failure. It is intelligence in motion. People who refuse to correct are protecting their ego, not their future. Persistence without awareness is stubbornness. Persistence with awareness is progress. Time rewards the second. Patience deserves more respect than it gets. Patience is not waiting. It is active endurance. It is continuing to plant when the ground looks empty. Continuing to water when nothing breaks the surface. This is where faith in process replaces obsession with outcome. Ask yourself, do you trust the process you are following, or are you secretly hoping for rescue? Hope is not a strategy. Design is. Feedback loops tighten as you mature. You measure more often. You adjust faster. You stop explaining and start refining. This is how momentum builds. Slowly, quietly. At first, effort feels heavy. Every step costs energy. Then one day, movement feels natural. Not easy, but smoother. That is the flywheel turning. Momentum does not mean you stop pushing. It means each push matters more. This is why consistency beats intensity. Intensity burns. Consistency compounds. Compounding is not dramatic. It is relentless. Small improvements repeated over time create distance others cannot close.